Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Here's the latest on what's going on with the Trump campaign and his quest to win the 2020 election. This is very important for stimulus as well, because we're going to talk about Mitch McConnell and what Mitch McConnell has to do with this new Justice Department investigation into the 2020 election. We're going to get into all of this, but I do just want to make a quick note that yesterday we hit 130,553 cases of COVID for Monday, November 9th. This means we are up over 64% over the last 14 days in case counts, and testing is accelerating at a much slower pace than cases are. So in other words, we're testing a similar amount, but cases are going up substantially. We also hit 745 deaths, up 18% over the last 14 days. Hospitalizations hit a new peak of 59,000. Vaccine distribution is publicly expected early next year, and this is leading to insane hype in the stock market. The movie theaters, the cruise lines, the airlines, the retail establishments are mostly all skyrocketing. We talked a lot about this yesterday in our private live stream, which all course members can join. Check out those courses down below on YouTube and stocks and money and real estate. Great coupon code as well for Black Friday month. This is the month to join. But let's right now focus on the election and what this means for stimulus. So, late yesterday, the Justice Department broke news via the Associated Press that the Justice Department is going to open an election fraud case. That is, they're going to check to see if there was fraud in the 2020 election. Now, following that news, Donald Trump quickly retweeted a quote by Breitbart News saying, quote, "Let's roll," in reference to the investigation. Now, this is the exact opposite of what a lot of media accounts have been reporting, that Donald Trump is warming up to conceding. Instead, just last night, Donald Trump has now doubled down on this fight for the 2020 election. This was also shortly after Donald Trump retweeted that Jeb Bush was a loser for congratulating Biden, and Donald Trump retweeted that the Pennsylvania mail-in ballot extension was a, quote, constitutional travesty. So here are the details of what's going on with the Justice Department and then what this means with McConnell. So basically, AG Barr, Attorney General Barr, will be opening an investigation into, quote, substantial allegations of voter fraud. He stated that investigations, quote, may be conducted if there are clear and apparently credible allegations of irregularities that, if true, could potentially impact the outcome of the federal election in an individual state. Now, just hours after this announcement, the dude who's in charge of voter fraud investigations at the Justice Department stepped down. Like literally the dude who's ordinarily in charge of this kind of stuff quit after this announcement. Then, Monday, Donald Trump also filed multiple lawsuits in several battleground states that Biden won, and several of these lawsuits are asking that judges literally invalidate or stop counting mail-in ballots. Now, all of this comes as those on the left argue that Donald Trump isn't even contesting enough votes to make a difference, and that AG Barr is just politicizing the Justice Department. Those on the right, including Donald Trump, disagree with both of these accounts and believe that Donald Trump has a clear path to victory. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany encouraged patience while these lawsuits develop, and RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel held a joint press conference with Kayleigh McEnany yesterday, echoing Kayleigh McEnany's statement. Bloomberg News has now reported that 35% of Republicans were concerned of voter fraud before the election, and now 70% of Republicans are concerned about voter fraud after the election. So this literally means twice as many Republicans are concerned about voter fraud after the election as they were before, citing that this election was neither free nor fair. The New York Times, which obviously leans left, stated, quote, Mr. Barr's directive, this new memo by the Justice Department, ignores long-standing policies intended to keep law enforcement from affecting the outcome of an election. And typically, the Justice Department doesn't even get involved in this kind of stuff because they prefer covert investigations, not these open in the public investigations. This is leading some to say that this is being done for publicity. The New York Times actually specifically says, based on a private, anonymous source from the Justice Department, that, quote, the memo, or this announcement of the investigation, is unlikely to change the outcome of the election, but could damage public confidence in the results. They went on to say that this is public posturing by the department and also gives Republicans, including Senator Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, a tool to refuse to acknowledge Mr. Biden as president-elect. Okay, so this is where things start blending together. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell, who's essentially been at war with Nancy Pelosi on the left over a large stimulus package, said, quote, "Obviously, no states have yet certified their election results. We have at least 1 or 2 states that are already on track for a recount, and I believe the president may have legal challenges underway in at least 5 states, Mitch McConnell said. Then, which is kind of an interesting, connection here, Mitch McConnell went into AG Barr's office and they met Monday afternoon just as this announcement was being made that the Justice Department was going to investigate voter fraud. After the meeting, which previously Mitch McConnell didn't say anything specifically about Donald Trump conceding or not, but after the meeting with the Justice Department, Mitch McConnell came out and said he now backs Mr. Trump in refusing to concede the election. Who knows? Maybe Mitch McConnell was shown some evidence. Anyway, this could all have obvious and likely implications for stimulus. Here's why. If Biden does end up winning, Biden and McConnell will have to work together and form multiple compromise bills for the next 2 years, even if Democrats end up picking up the 50 seats in the Senate via Georgia's runoff election. This is because most bills require 60 votes to pass the Senate. There are some tax-related bills, judicial confirmations, and presidential confirmations, like cabinet confirmations, that can be made with 51 votes, in which case if Democrats had 50 seats, Kamala Harris could come in as the 51st vote and break a tie. But a lot of compromise will still be needed. And so this is creating new tension between McConnell and Biden, and that does not help stimulus if Biden ends up winning. Also, and this is really interesting, while all of these disputes go on, and while Mitch McConnell is at the Justice Department's offices, Mitch McConnell has now been put in charge of stimulus by the White House. Senior White House administration officials are suggesting they want nothing to do with stimulus negotiations at the moment, that instead Mitch McConnell is in charge. And Mitch McConnell states that he wants targeted relief done prior to the end of the year, but he believes the people voted him into power to stop a large-scale Democratic bill. And this is despite any kind of surging in COVID cases. Mitch McConnell wants targeted relief, targeted stimulus checks, targeted PPP funding, targeted enhanced unemployment, and liability protections for corporations. Mitch McConnell has also said that a falling unemployment rate is, quote, evidence that only limited additional federal intervention is needed. AKA, he believes the falling unemployment rate is evidence that a small deal is better than a big deal. Apparently, Mitch McConnell does not listen to what Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says, who again last week could not have made it more clear that we need a big, new, large stimulus package. Now, on the flip side, Joe Biden's team is already in discussions and negotiations with Democrats to strategize and negotiate to get a stimulus deal prior to the end of the year. Biden and Kamala Harris are talking to Democrats in Congress, and then they plan to approach Mitch McConnell and Republicans to try to pressure Congress to get a deal done before the end of the year, so that way a stimulus package gets done before Biden takes office, if he takes office. So that kind of catches you up to what is going on. A couple of other little notes to have. Donald Trump hired a new manager for all of the lawsuits that they have going on, but this manager, who was hired on Friday, literally 2 days later got diagnosed with COVID. Okay, so there's everything that's going on right now with regards to this Justice Department investigation and how this ties into Mitch McConnell and stimulus. It's weird. So, if you like this kind of summary, please consider sharing the video. Consider subscribing to the channel so we can make it to 1 million subscribers on the channel. I really appreciate all of y'all's support. Check out the coupon code down below for those amazing programs. And folks, we will see you later.